The cyclamen has been a source of pleasure since the dawn of time. It is a symbol of maternal love, an expression of heartfelt emotion. While nature sleeps, the Morel company takes over. Their work will add much-needed colour to our gardens, brightening up not only our balconies and terraces, but also our simple vases. Our journey takes us to Fréjus, where millions of cyclamen are produced every year in 30,000 square metres of greenhouse. Morel has used innovations to create an environmentally friendly business. Recycling is present at each level of production. Water from the boilers is recycled, irrigation is computer-controlled, and climate software reduces heating costs. This way, Morel has created cyclamen that are amongst the most outstanding in the world. In the beginning was the seed, but before the seed came research. In fact, everything really starts with the passion of Pierre Morel.
The
family history begins in 1930, when my grandfather passed on the breeding of cyclamen to my father Charles, telling him he would now be responsible for varieties. My father took care of the breeding after that. He then went down to the south of France after the Second World War. It's thanks to him and his selection work into varieties and their genetic potential, creating some very intense red and white varieties, that we were able to enter the market. Pierre Morel, the grandfather, was born in central France. He fell in love with botany and left to work in Egypt. His son, Charles Morel, the father of the four brothers, was born in Alexandria. Upon his return to France, he began his selection work almost instinctively. The first cyclamen to make a name for Charles Morel were bright, brilliant red ones. His secret, a passion for art combined with his father's botanical knowledge. In 1946, the company moved south and on to Fréjus in 1969. The selection grew, and in the 70s they started selling young plants as well as seeds to lighten the producer's workload. This in itself was an idea far ahead of its time. The kids have grown up. The four musketeers united in the pursuit of excellence and the quest to be the best. The cyclamen is their common sword. Their secret? Sharing the tasks.
Jean-Charles is the framework guy. He sees the business in its legal, financial and fiscal entirety. He is the company's treasurer and seeks out the best position in the administrative environment. Guy is a horticultural engineer. This scientist takes his father's selections from 1976 and uses them to create and evolve his own varieties in 1989. Genetic combinations are his creative field. For him, being a breeder is the art of keeping only the best. Paul-Henri is the internal communications and relations man. He is in charge of staff and production and has surrounded himself with serious, efficient people. He is very interested in what's new and has developed several completely original cultivation systems. Confidence and service are parts of Olivier's goal. His aim is to encourage active communication with the customers. There are more than 10 languages spoken within the company. It has become truly international and gets all its energy from this cultural mix.
The key to creating a new cyclamen is observation. Everything starts with the phenotypic selection of two different complementary populations. Then there are successive self-fertilizations to obtain pure lines. Crossing two pure lines produces a first-generation hybrid cyclamen, the famous F1 hybrid. Research into varieties is indeed the longest and most tricky part. Every species and variety that comes on the market represents 8 to 10 years of research to get the desired result. Quality has to be maintained throughout, and you have to be able to multiply the seeds in sufficient quantities for the market. Before they are bagged, the pods containing these precious seeds have to be collected by hand. They are washed, graded, dried, put in packets and stored in the fridge. These seeds can be kept for up to 5 years. Flexibility in packaging means packets can contain between 100 and 20,000 seeds. The standard unit is 1,000. Between seed and flower, there can be many years of research and observation. The cyclamen generally goes through 4 phases on its journey from seed to final product. First there's the sowing, then the pricking out, which results in a small plant which growers use. The sowing is done in trays. The seeds are placed in total darkness at 18 degrees centigrade for 3 weeks with 90% hygrometry. Then, when they come out of the germination chamber, the seedlings are acclimatized in the greenhouse. the first cotyledonary leaf does not appear until the end of the 6th week. The 16th week, at which stage the young plants have 6 to 8 leaves, marks the potting stage. Then it's the potting phase. The young plant is delivered to a producer towards the end of spring, and he cultivates it throughout the whole summer so that it's ready from September until February. The number of people on the team fluctuates between 50 and 100 in a season. Dozens of different professions are involved. As in haute couture, many hands work together for one big show.
Our job is to sew the cyclamen so that we can choose lines and mother lines and then get to castration and pollination. Pollination and castration mean that we choose our male and female lines via a selection process involving the color, shape and size of the plant. We take pollen from our males and then castrate our females, which means we take the pistil and dip it in the pollen.
The Morel phenomenon in numbers. 4, like the 4 brothers, Jean-Charles, Guy, Paul-Henri and Olivier, who carry on a business that has been a family tradition for 3 generations. 100, the number of people working for the company between October and June. There are 7 ways you can surf on the Cyclamen.com website. In French, English, German, Italian and Spanish, Japanese and Chinese are coming soon. 60 years of research and selection since the company began in Fréjus in southern France. 150 varieties created since selection was begun, from the biggest Halias Scarlet Red to the smallest Métis Victoria. 52 kilometers, the distance covered if you put the pots side by side, production on a truly international scale. 300, the thread count of the insect-proof nets in microns. 98, the percentage reduction, minus 98% in chemical products used following the installation of insect-proof nets in greenhouse openings. Morel does business with more than 38 countries worldwide, who have all made the cyclamen their favorite flower. 10, the number of languages spoken in the company: French, English, German, Dutch, Italian, Spanish, Catalan, Portuguese, Chinese and Japanese. 11, the number of available versions of the catalogue: French, English, Dutch, German, Italian, Spanish, Greek, Polish, Russian, Chinese and Japanese. 98%, the maximum percentage of humidity needed to germinate the seed. 0, the ideal number of thrips in a greenhouse, a grower's dream. 3, the number of automated hectares constantly in use, from selection to production. 288, the number of seed cells per sowing tray. Each cyclamen has its own personality.
The Métis Victoria variety has won an award in Courson. What makes it a Victoria actually comes from the rank of Queen Victoria. This little fringe on the top of the petal, something that was completely new in miniature cyclamen. This variety has also very decorative, almost silvery foliage. The Latinia salmon flame is also one of our favorites because it's a plant that people use for its very intense salmon color. It is used a lot in beddings because it works as well in as outdoors. And this variety is also very successful because it's very floriferous. And then it's one of our favorites because it is perfumed as well. The Alias white fringe is a very new favorite. We wanted to work on some varieties with much more voluptuous or feminine style petals. And we really like this one because there's a huge contrast between this very pure white and the extremely dark foliage. The Fantasia is a newcomer to our Cyclamen collection, and this one is original because of its very contrasting 2 colors. The petals are almost tulip-like at the start, and then they curve around, and there is a unique white edge and an intense color. In the future, we're going to work on more color selection. And the diva, now, that's something else. It's very distinct in terms of the plant structure, especially the petals, which are very round and fan-like here. with textured grooves inside each one that give it an interesting fan effect. The diva really makes you feel like you are in a very relaxed, delicate universe. It's a plant that works very well on its own. It creates a decor, an atmosphere.
Today, the cyclamen can be accommodated and presented in a whole host of revolutionary new ways. The flowers now spring forth from the finest glassware, giving florists, designers and restaurants a new way to showcase their beauty.
The cyclamen is also a very modern plant, and so we've been marketing it as a cut flower for some time now. We have specific varieties that adapt very well to this use. It's a new and very successful market. The shape of the petals give them a sort of butterfly effect that people really enjoy. We've also been working on myriad ways to present and stage the cyclamen. I think the baby métis will be a very attractive product in the future. It's a little playful and very bright and colorful.
The website was built in 1999 so that the entire community of horticulturalists and cyclamen producers could have free, permanent access to a wealth of technical information and find everything they need to know about culture, diseases and treatments. The site was redesigned in 2002 and now has translations available in many languages and a space for amateur plant lovers, a pedagogical tool and a huge number of images, decoration ideas, displays and interviews. The Quebec School of Horticulture uses the website as an important teaching resource. The cyclamen is a system of knowledge in and of itself. Up to now, cyclamen breeding and selection has been done using age-old artisanal skills. Ultra-modern techniques have not yet entered the field. You need a minimum of, let's say, 10 to 20 years of experience to really get to know the cyclamen and to be able to bring out all the plant's characteristics in all their different forms of expression. And the ideal cyclamen, does it exist? The ideal is a cyclamen that grows in a very regular way, in any kind of climate. A cyclamen that is sufficiently uniform so that producers will sell their whole stock. From infinitely large to infinitely small, new growing methods already allow us to produce microcyclamen or baby varieties. Anything or almost anything is possible when it comes to size or shape. All you have to do is bring together passion, creativity, know-how and patience, and nature will do the rest.